Hi, Victoria. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi. So good to be here.
Yay. Yeah, I'm so glad to have you. I'm so excited to talk about your twin home birth story.
Yes.
Yeah. How are you feeling right now in motherhood with having two little ones?
Yeah, so we've got twins and we have a toddler, and they're like 10 months now. And so they're crawling. There's a lot going on. I do like this stage a little bit better than newborn stage where they were just like little blobs. Now they're like very interactive. Definitely like some tough moments of like chaos for sure, where I'm changing a toddler's diaper and then I've got both of the babies on me and it's just like chaotic.
I'm sure.
But it's really a blessing, though, at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That sounds really beautiful and really intense. I
Yep.
do not have twins. I have a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old, and then
Mm,
my almost 7-year-old. So a little bit of similar experience of like juggling multiple small ones, but I
yeah,
got to do the newborn phase one at a time.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't imagine newborn phase with two. Is it something that just feels like natural? Or is it like totally crazy or both?
Natural being, like, mom or
Yeah, I guess, like, taking care of 2 little ones when they're in the newborn stage is a
yeah, it felt natural and, less scary than you think it would be. Every kid's different, and our toddler she's a toddler now, but that was actually harder having one because we didn't know what we were getting into, and I feel like a professional now, not really, but they actually sleep a little bit better than what we were expecting
Uh-huh. Okay,
most
that's
of the time. Yeah, and they're really just chill, laid back, and they have each other, which I wonder if that makes a difference.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I feel about having my 2 little ones. Like, my son was 15 months when my next one was born,
Mm,
and they just as soon as my smallest was, 6 months old and, like, sitting up and, kind of interested in toys, they were just, like, BFFs. We go everywhere in the double stroller, do everything
mhm.
together, books together, like, together,
That's
and
so
now they
sweet.
just yeah, it's adorable.
Mhm.
I went outside yesterday, we're potty training them both, so they both were in their little stripy underwear on their little
Yeah,
balance spikes with their helmets riding up and down. It's so
that's
cute.
so cute. Oh, I love how close in age that they are. It's
Yeah,
adorable. Like,
yeah.
not even a year, would you say? Or
Yeah, 15 months, so they're just a little over a year.
mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
That is really sweet.
Well, do you wanna take me into the beginning of your story?
Yeah.
Maybe when you found out you were pregnant, what was that like?
Yeah, so we were living in Oregon at the time, and with my first birth, we were at a birth center. And so we knew that we were not gonna end up there, but we wanted to go back and see the midwife. So there's like this third party person who comes in who does ultrasound because the midwives just have like Dopplers. So we do the ultrasound, and the guy, it's really funny because it's like all these women, and then there's, like, this man who comes in, and he's, like, really intense ultrasound guy, and he'll just tell you how it is. Anyway, so he was really quiet, and I was wondering if there was something wrong, and I was like, "Is that the little one there?" And he was like, "There's 2 little ones." And I'm like, "What?" It never occurred to me that I would have twins even though it runs in both sides of our family. Never came to my mind. So I was really kind of shocked. And like I said, this guy, he is kind of intense. And he was like, "You have Modi twins, which is one placenta, two sacs." And he couldn't quite figure it out. It was hard to tell. It was hard to see like the sac divided. So he wasn't sure if it was like the really risky one, if it was Momo twins with one sac and one placenta. So I was like really kind of feeling a little bit anxious. And he also just shared that, it's high risk, that you probably need to go to the high risk doctors every 2 weeks and that you'll probably end up having a C section. So, that was a lot of information to be thrown at me at the same time finding out I was having twins. So I like cried. It was just a lot to process. My midwife gave me a really big hug and said something just so encouraging. I don't even remember what it was, but really spoke to me. And so that was that. We couldn't get care really from them. We could maybe do both. Like we could probably be at the birth center just as extra support, getting their insight. And so we started a couple weeks later, went to the high risk doctors, and I had never worked with an OB before. So this is kind of a very different care, and I think it was, like, the 2nd visit. I know this is, like, very common nowadays of just, like, asking if you, like, wanna be pregnant, like, towards the beginning of care. So,
Mm.
I was asked if I wanted to be pregnant, and I was like, "Yes, I do," and then I was asked if I wanted to have twins, if I only wanted to keep one of them, and so that was just, like, kind of a surprise, not been asked that before. And, normally you will like go somewhere if that's what you desire. And so someone coming to me just kind of like threw me off. I was like, oh man, like this is weird. Like, is this normal? And find out, most OBs and I think midwives do ask those questions now.
Mm, interesting. I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
it's a newer thing. Yeah.
yeah.
I shared that with like some friends and they were like, oh yeah, I was asked that too.
Huh.
So maybe it's just like a new thing that they do. And so in that moment, I felt like they viewed me or twins almost as like a disease or something that people don't want, which I understand that it's a lot and overwhelming for sure. But just the fact that there was nothing wrong with me, I had no medical condition, my babies were healthy at this point, and throughout my entire pregnancy, they were, but it was, like, maybe 13, 14 weeks at that point, and so, I was just like, "Man, I kinda feel like I've got some sort of medical condition being
Mm,
here." So, at the time, I think I said we were moving to Colorado, so we knew, again, that we would only be in Oregon and have these visits maybe, like, once or twice. There was this uneasiness. I didn't know where we were gonna find care. So I was looking for an OB on top of going to the high risk doctors. And going every 2 weeks is so expensive.
mm, mm,
So expensive. And I remember friends who also had twins after I birthed my twins. They were like, "Yeah, I took a couple weeks off going to these high risk doctors." And in that moment or back then, I didn't even think I had the option to do that, and I don't know why it came to me of, like, I don't even have the option to not see these guys. I just thought, "You have to do this. You're stuck," until later, then I realized that I had some options. It was when I was touring the hospital somewhere around 16-ish weeks, 16 to 18 weeks in Colorado. We were going to the high risk doctors and we found an OB that did have some skills in breech. So we were looking for that. There were really only two doctors we knew of. The one that I really wanted, he was booked out because he gave people a lot of freedom and a lot of options. And so this gal, she was also great too, but her backup was a high C-section rate. In the hospital, it's a very high C-section rate too. And so I just felt so stuck. Yeah, we toured the hospital, wanted to kind of see what that was like. And the whole time, just like my nervous system was not okay. Like my whole thought process is like, you go to the hospital when you're sick. And so that's what I've experienced. I go to the hospital when I'm sick and I don't have, didn't have great experiences in the hospital when I actually was sick. So just not my favorite place to be. So we go in one of the rooms, and the nurse who's showing us around, she says, "So I want to make sure we have you in a room that's close to the OR." And I'm like, "Wait, what do you mean by that?" And so she shares, usually at the end of your labor, we put you into the OR just in case you need a C-section. So that is just all across the board. That's what they do. And I said, "Well, what if everything is going great and I I have no issues. Why would I need to be put in the OR?" And she just was like, "That's just, what we do. We really encourage that." And so I looked at my husband, and after the appointment, I was like, we've got to figure something else out. I didn't know this. And just because, like, already assuming that I'm going to need help, or I understand that there are absolutely like moments where you need that extra support. And if you are actually high risk, you have a condition, your babies have a condition. But if you're like healthy, and there's no sign of issues, I just really question that.
right. Hmm. Yeah, like are twins inherently a high risk condition?
Yep.
No, they're not.
No. Yeah, yep. Doctor Stu, he said something like, "High risk is whatever makes your doctor uncomfortable."
Hmm. That's a great quote, I love that. Yeah.
Yes, and so, yeah, you're so right. They're not inherently high risk. They can be, but just keeping an eye on them and seeing how they're doing throughout pregnancy is important to look at. And with the twins that I have, there, of course, was risk. There was like a 15% chance of having like the twin to twin transfusion. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. We breezed right through that. Dr. Stu has said after you reach a certain point, maybe it's like, I think maybe 27 weeks, if there's no signs, you should be good. It's usually around like the second trimester that you have to really look for it. And so there were no issues there. Everyone was growing great. Anyway, so we were looking after we toured the hospital. I just told my husband, we've got to find other options. And I remember when we were in Oregon, Steven actually saw this like twin home birth on Google, and it was in like the mountains of Colorado. And so that was on my mind. I didn't know if there was a midwife close by, Denver. Anyway, another friend from Colorado, she saw the same blog and she reached out to the photographer and said, "Can I get the midwife's information?" She sent it to me and I was able to connect with the midwife. I was like,
Wow.
ugh, such like an answered prayer. It was like really close to like 16 to 18 weeks, somewhere around there. And she worked with lots of twins and had a lot of skill. She had been working as a midwife for maybe at least 30 years. So very skilled and experienced, and was not afraid of me, of having twins. Like there was no fear that she was carrying, and just shared a lot of really great information. And so all she needed was her or my anatomy scan. And so I had to do one more appointment with the high risk doctors. She actually had a full on ultrasound equipment. So she had gotten training. She had the full huge thing. So that was really great. Where some midwives, they want you to keep going to, get care because maybe they don't have the full equipment. So I went back to get my records and get my anatomy scan, and I was cornered by three different people at the high risk clinic. They were asking me, "Who is your provider? Like, we need to know." And I would not tell them. Like, three different people cornered me. And I said, "I just need my records. Give me my records." So that was really intense. And I felt like I was cornered by like the birth police.
Oh my gosh.
I literally felt like the police, like, it was so bad. They even called my OB, which was in, like, the same general building, and almost was, like, tattling on me, and I had already canceled with her. It was just really silly, and so she called me. I later called her back, and I didn't have to, but I just did, and she asked me, "Are you gonna have a hospital birth?" And I said, "I don't need to tell you what I'm gonna do." And she said, "Oh, I just wanna make sure Evelyn will be able to enjoy her brothers." So she, like, pulled the dead baby card.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's like,
So
do
inappropriate.
I can I not make my own decisions?
Apparently not.
Yeah, yeah, just really silly, like, it felt like there were these, like, strings attached.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was pregnant with my first, my grandparents have a friend who's an obstetrician. They were really upset that I was planning a home birth. They had him write me a letter illustrating how I was going to kill my baby and how my baby values life more over having a romantic birth. It was so, yeah, it was so inappropriate.
That's so wild, I'm so sorry. How
Yeah.
did you, deal with that?
Oh, I think, yeah, this is a great thing to talk about for moms who are wanting home births because those can come up sometimes. And
Yeah.
I think I responded similarly to you. Like, I don't owe anyone any explanation
Mm,
for why I'm making this choice.
yeah,
And I just told my grandparents, if you can't respect my birth choice, then we're going to have to keep our distance until after I have my baby. And that's what,
yeah,
so we just really limited contact.
mhm,
Yeah. And then opened it back up and it was fine after the baby.
yeah. Oh, wow. Good for you for, standing your ground. It's so
Thank you.
funny. Yeah, and usually it's out of people caring for you of, like, they just don't know. They don't know that it can be safe, and they don't know that midwives bring so many different things, just like what you would have in the hospital, like an IV, a
Mhm.
Doppler,
Yeah.
yes, Pitocin, all of that you could need, and then oxygen for you and the baby.
Resuscitation equipment.
Yes, so when people are shocked when they hear that. They just think that, "Oh, they just show up with good vibes." No, they're professionals. They know what they're doing.
Well, take me into maybe the end of your pregnancy journey,
Mhm.
getting ready for this home birth, with this
Mhm.
midwife. What was that like?
Yeah, I was experience a lot of anxiety and fear before, like, meeting her of just because I was probably feeling the fear from the doctors, and just other people. And so seeing that she did not have fear, that she saw me as this capable mom who could give birth was so encouraging and gave me that confidence. Sometimes you really just need that extra support, and my husband was so supportive and just there to support me in whatever I chose. So really love that. So, yeah, I just was walking into it with open hands, like, okay, I'm preparing for this. We're doing all the things, but we also, of course, have like a plan for transfer. I think the doctor who we originally wanted before meeting the midwife, he was like the backup person because he wouldn't shame me for having a home birth if we needed to like transfer. So that was the plan. I definitely was doing a lot of like pregnancy stretches and listening to my like peaceful birth playlist and just kind of inviting God into the whole process of practicing, my breathing and yeah, just inviting his peace. So that I try to do that daily to prepare physically and emotionally, spiritually, all that. And so I was also like trying to be super active too. So that was like really different where I had no complications. I was less swollen this time around just because I was more active than my singleton, which is so wild to me. So still doing some light workouts all the way up till birth, lots of walking for sure. So it was 36 weeks I was having contractions and for like 2 weeks leading up till 38 weeks was when I actually was in labor. So definitely like uncomfortable towards the end and thinking I'm going into labor, but also telling myself it's not the real thing because then I wake up and it's not. So having, I think it's prodromal labor, is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So it is 38 weeks and we go see my midwife and I just am open to her like checking me and I'm like 1 centimeter. And she says, let's just let our bodies do our thing and you'll probably go into labor in the next couple of days. And so that was that night. Yeah, it was that night I went into labor. I didn't think it was the real thing, and I try to tell myself, like, "It's not the real thing," just to kinda lower expectations. So, yeah, 7, 8 PM, things start picking up, and I just do my thing, like, I go in the bathtub, go on the ball, try to distract myself. Around, like, 9, I try to go to bed, and it's starting to just get really uncomfortable and can't really sleep at that point. My daughter goes to sleep. Steven's like, I better get some sleep because you're probably going to be in labor tomorrow. He's thinking I'm going to be actually be in labor tomorrow. And so it's around like 3 a.m. I'm like, okay, it's getting really intense. I'm going to have Steven call his dad to pick up our daughter because my mind is in labor land, but then I'm like, my daughter's going to wake up and I can't focus. Like something is holding my body back. I could tell from dilating. And so being in mom mode, but then also labor mode. So realized I really needed to kind of remove distractions, even though she's like fast asleep. She was at the stage where sometimes she'd wake up in the night. So I was like worrying about that. So Steven starts the tub and I'm really thinking this is probably the real thing. I call my midwife 4 or 5 times in the night, and it's my contractions are really weird, and they're not, like, consistent. They're like, getting more intense, but they're not leading to, like, every 3 minutes. It's stretched out, and then it's short. So something was kind of weird to me, felt off, and so I was really struggling with, do I have my midwives come and then they have to leave because it's not the real thing? I was really struggling with, like, people pleasing, and it was all my stuff. They would literally come in a moment. She said, "I will just hang out with you. It's okay if you're not in labor. Like, it's okay if it's not the real thing. I'll just be there." So that was, like, really encouraging. I am paying them. This is their job, so I had to remember that.
Mhm.
because I was really struggling because there were 3 midwives and a photographer coming. So I had to get over myself. And so it was 5 in the morning. I just said, "Come." So everyone shows up at 6. And I was okay with my midwife checking me just because something felt really off. So find out I am like 1 centimeter, and it just didn't quite feel right because, the day before I was 1 centimeter. I know it means absolutely nothing. We know that, but something was seemed off. So she actually noticed I had some scar tissue from my past birth. I had kind of a deep tear, so there was some healing there, but then also, like I said, I was at a birth center. Couple hours after the birth, my midwife in Oregon was like, "Hey, this tear seems kind of a little bit deep, a little too deep for me to fix. Let's just go to the hospital up the street." So anyway, it was kind of a whole ordeal, and they ended up stitching up things that shouldn't have been stitched up, and that I've heard that happens a lot. So it was actually keeping me from dilating. Like, it felt like I was 8, 9 centimeters, really, like, it felt like active labor, but I'm 1 centimeter. So she asked me, and before the birth, I said, "You are welcome to do interventions because I want to avoid the hospital as long as it's not a true emergency." So I was open to her stepping in a little bit more because of there is more risk to things when you do have twins. So I was very open to that. So she asked if she could just kind of like, move the scar tissue out of the way, and I was like, "Yeah, totally." And so when she did, my body opened up. It was at 9 centimeters. Isn't
You're
that
kidding.
insane? Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Wow, and this is the beauty of a midwife.
I know.
Like, probably wouldn't even have caught that.
No, yes, they probably wouldn't have caught that, and then I probably would have had a C-section because 'cause I'm not progressing,
Yeah.
failure to progress. Yeah, so that would have not gone well,
Wow.
most likely if I was in a hospital.
Wow.
Yeah, grateful for my midwife who caught that, and so it all made sense. So after that, I went straight to the tub because we were in active labor at this point. A little bit later, I wanna, like, push my baby out, but my body's not ready, and so I'm feeling kinda stuck. So I'm doing all these positions and I'm just feeling stuck, and I feel like I'm almost like forcing it, like really doing the work, which I should just be relaxing. So at that point, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just, Steve and I are gonna go in the other room and we're gonna connect and we're gonna cuddle because I know the benefits of getting that oxytocin. So we do that for a little bit. And I just remember after we left the room, I just felt all this bliss and peace and the happy feelings of oxytocin. And very soon after, I want to say probably 20, 30 minutes, I don't know exactly, but very soon after, I started feeling that pressure in my butt. And it was like, wow, okay, babies are moving down. And at this point, it was not painful. My contractions were not painful. I remember with my daughter, the contractions were not painful, but I had back labor and it was very painful and very difficult, and I was dehydrated. But this was a very different feeling. There was no back labor. It was until I started feeling that pressure in my butt where I was like, I don't like this feeling. This is really intense and really uncomfortable. Yeah. So definitely was feeling that pressure and started really mooing and roaring where it just felt like going downward. And I was using this like squeezing tool. It wasn't a comb, but it was very similar to a comb leading up to it when the contractions came. And so I was actually started using this that as well when I felt that urge to bear down, and I realized it was not working. It was not helpful because I was bearing down in my hand. There was a mental thing where I needed to focus bearing down, and it took me a little bit. I know everyone's different in when it comes to birthing their babies. So, baby A's forehead was presenting, so it was not super smooth. His
Yeah.
chin was not down. So it was not like this. It was more like probably something like that. I had to really put some effort into it. He was crowning for a little bit, and yeah, it probably was bearing down for like 30, 40 minutes until baby 8 came out.
Mhm.
So then Steven got baby A. He caught him and put him on my chest, which was so sweet. Oh my gosh, best feeling in the world. Then my midwife, like I said, I told her, "Go ahead and do what you need to do, interventions if needed." She just checks baby B's, sees if his head's there, his water sac's there. So she just puts a little bit of pressure on my belly. And I didn't even know she did this. She's so great. I had no idea she actually did this. So she just put some pressure on my belly, put him in the right position, and I had my next contraction and I had the fetal ejection reflex, and he just came out.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, "That was so easy." So they were 4 minutes apart, 4 or 5 minutes apart, and they were on my chest, and just the best feeling in the world. I know Steven also held one of the babies when I, birthed the placenta, and my midwife just gave me some, like, Pitocin because I know that there's a higher risk when you have twins of bleeding. So I was just like, we're just gonna already just say yes to that before we even had the birth. So we got the placenta out and, just went to my bed. We had them with their placenta for whenever the cord stopped pulsing, just waited for that, and everybody had good, like, is it APGAR scores? Is that what it is? Is
Yeah.
that how you say it? Okay. Yeah, everyone had good scores and healthy babies.
Yay.
They were 6'7", 6'12"
Wow.
Yeah, pretty big for twins.
Yeah, pretty big for twins.
Yeah, it was just the best not being, like, disturbed, just going straight to my bed, no one coming in every 5 minutes. We did all the well, my husband weighed the babies, like, pretty soon after he cut the cord, but all the other baby stuff was the next day, so we were able to just hang out as a family, take a nap. It was just so heavenly.
Oh, that sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful. Wow. Thanks so much for sharing that with me. This wasn't
Yeah.
just a twin home birth story. It was a forehead presentation twin
Yeah.
home birth story, which is a whole nother category of like wow factor. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, how incredible our bodies are for
Mm,
allowing a baby with a head extended, which makes the diameter of the head so much larger.
yes.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Mhm. Have you seen that in your work, seeing a mom or a baby, presenting in kind of a way where it's hard for mom?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Lots of different presentation challenges, but 2 forehead presentations. One mama got a C-section, the other mama did a home birth transfer and did vacuum.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Grateful for my midwife who is just able to kind of work around that and figure that out. But yeah, so usually people will transfer because it's just really difficult for mom, where she's just exhausted.
I think that the first mama transferred because they saw meconium and she had been pushing
Mm.
for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vacuum ended up feeling like the right choice for her.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's good.
but if we can avoid it, I mean, it's great if we can.
Right.
I've read, birth books that illustrate stories of forehead presentations for home birth, so it's not like if forehead presentation is diagnosed, then we have to, like, rush off to the hospital, but I think this is just a beautiful example of how midwives have more skills for normal birth. OBs have
Yeah.
more skills for surgical birth,
Yes.
but, midwives are the ones who are often able to identify a positioning issue and help address that and work with it
Mhm.
safely and, like, catching the scar tissue and resolving that. If you were just getting routine
Yeah.
exams from a nurse in the hospital and they weren't looking for that or they didn't have the skill to assess that, it's like,
Mhm.
"You're just 1, that's all we're looking for is the number." But with a home birth midwife, we're looking for how can we support safety? How can we support birth? Not like
Mhm.
how can we're just, like, looking at the numbers and then assessing
Yeah.
and following whatever the algorithm says, it's way different. So I'm so glad that you had someone who had those skills to support you.
Me too. Yeah, I love that midwives, they know what physiological birth looks like, and when something's off, they can spot it.
Mm.
And like you said, OBs, they are really good at medical, extra medical support, doing C-sections. That is their expertise.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. Yeah, we just need more midwives. If people want to
Mhm.
have normal physiologic births, if we want to support safe birth, we need more midwives because midwives have the skill to support birth. OBs
Mhm.
have the skill to address physiology. It's so interesting how you were sharing your experience of working with an OB for a little bit, and
Mhm.
the care you were receiving was really focused on something is wrong with you.
Mhm.
This is a like a high risk category. So there's a lot of fear. And
Yeah.
you said that you felt yeah, like there was something wrong, like there was a condition. But midwives typically will celebrate what is right.
Yes, yes, and of course, acknowledge when something is wrong and, transfer if needed. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, so beautiful. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to share your story.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I wonder to close, if you have
Mm.
any advice that you'd give to a pregnant mom, what would you tell her?
I would say that you have options. If you don't like your provider, if your provider is not supportive or kind or respectful to you, you can find a new one at 10 weeks, 39 weeks, 40 weeks. They're the ones that are working for you. You're the ones paying them. So you can change providers if they just don't align to your birth goals and don't respect you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of moms need to hear that. You said that you felt stuck. A lot of moms feel
Mhm.
like I just have to follow this path, and I feel like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but there are
Yeah.
lots of paths to take. So,
Mhm, and the language of, like, "Oh, they let you," or "I'm not gonna let you go past this date," or, we're all adults here. We all can make our own choices, and it's good to be informed on, like, the risks and then also benefits, looking at all of that.
yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Victoria. It was so great.
Yeah.
Before we end, do you want to share where people can find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Whole Birth Wellness with Vic.
Cool. Amazing. Yay. Well, have
Yay.
a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you.